MAPPA has been doing an amazing job at adapting Jujutsu Kaisen for the past 4 years. But naturally, with any adaptation there are differences, enhancements, and changes. I'm personally very curious to count down every change that has been made in this series, and I have been noticing them as I was watching the series for the first time as a manga reader, and I would like to count them down. First off, I might have missed something like color changes. I tried to put every single one, but Gege is kinda inconsistent with some of the colors. And as the video will go on, I will stop mentioning things like flashbacks instead of just plain black panels being used, and etc. The anime starts off by adapting the first scene of the second chapter with Gojo and Yuji talking about Yuji's current situation instead of adapting Megumi talking to Gojo over the phone first. The anime adds an additional scene of Yuji's house where Yuji goes to the hospital where his grandpa is staying at, with an extra scene of grandpa yelling at the phone. The Megumi scene has extra scenery and Megumi himself is a lot more jumpy in the anime. In general, the anime reimagines a lot of comedic scenes, like the entire talk about clubs, has a lot of more extra gags in it. We see that the field curse can dive into the ground. Extra background gag of the player putting heavy balls on the coach. Now we see the glimpse of Sukuna's eyes when Yuji passes Megumi. Megumi is now more stunned rather than annoyed that Yuji can run that fast. New scenes added of Yuji traveling to the hospital. Panel of multiple people when Yuji's grandpa mentions saving people is cut. We see Yuji packing grandpa's stuff. Yuji seems to be more annoyed with Megumi in the anime. Yuji's monologue now has visuals. Yuji does not do a backflip before saving the club members. What Yuji was expecting the curse to look like is not shown in the anime. I thought this was a difference, but it's not. The curse that attacks Yuji and Megumi during the night is the same curse Megumi saw in the field, but the real difference is that the anime gives this curse eyes on its tongue. Megumi no longer remarks Yuji's power. Yuji's fight with the curse is extended. The way Yuji eats the finger in the anime is different. In the manga, Yuji fights the curse and gets pushed back, taking the finger out and eating it. In the anime, he's forced into a situation where he's about to be eaten by the curse and throws the finger into the air and eats it. Sukuna's fingernails, only for this scene I believe, are purple. Instead of grabbing his neck, Yuji grabs Sukuna's face. Chibi scene of Gojo buying treats is added. Gojo's color scheme is greatly changed in the anime, switching out his blue highlights to purple. Blue highlights can be seen in the old promotional videos Mappa made, using his early design. Instead of just dodging Sukuna, Gojo is now sitting on him. In general, the scene is extended and has way more scenes of fighting. What seems to be the early showing of Sukuna's slashing abilities in the manga now has the black aura in the anime for some reason. Gakukanji is shown here. When Gojo talks about a body that's torn to pieces, it's actually shown. The talk with Gojo starts outside the cremation house, just like the manga, but ends inside where the rest of the scene takes place. In general, the scene of Yuji cremating his grandpa is added. The cover page of chapter 3 is now added, animated, and voiced. An extra visual of Sukuna was added. Yuji actually manages to somewhat fight back the curse though. The scene is extended. A visual of Yuji in the coffin is added. Scenes added to Yuji's monologue about why he joins Jujutsu Tech. Megumi slams Yuji's head in the door. Extra small scenes added to the train station where Nobara arrives. Small extra scene of Nobara being happy to be in Tokyo is added. Nobara is carrying extra shopping bags. Yuji is wearing 2018 glasses in the manga and Rook glasses in the anime. The girl commenting on Gojo's blindfold are not shown, but you can hear them. Nobara now stores her stuff in a locker. Scenes of Yuji looking around is added. The scene of Nobara leaving the countryside is added. The scene also features a broken van, alluding to her backstory. Nobara's backstory is now added here with extra new scenes. The scenes of the kid going home is added. Megumi is on the phone in the anime. Extra dialogue is added about Nobara asking Yuji to go get her stuff from the locker. The dialogue is now narrated by Ijiji instead of the narrator. It is shown that the civilians are evacuated. The scene of Gojo saying bye is added. Extra assistants are added to the scene. Notice this here and might as well mention, manga Yuji's hair is inconsistent and varies from chapter to chapter. It is somewhere in between beige and orange. The anime Yuji is pink like the Volume 1 cover, the uniforms are blue and often show as black, green, and yes, blue sometimes in the manga. Other color changes will be mentioned if I notice them. Megumi's eyes are shown black in the manga when he's calm, and his actual natural color when he's worried or surprised. Extra scene of the gang exploring, extra scene of Nobara with her last nail. Instead of standing behind Megumi and looking the opposite direction, Sukuna now simply appears behind Megumi and walks out the frame. And in general, the framing of the scene is different. Sukuna does not push back his hair until he starts fighting Megumi in the anime. In the manga, he keeps his hair down most of the time, which I kinda like. Now when Megumi narrates at the start of the chapter, it has visual of Tsumiki and the cocks. Megumi is now visibly shaking before fighting Sukuna. The fight is greatly extended, with the most remarkable part being Sukuna taking Megumi in the air multiple times, and Nue first catching Megumi and then being pushed down together with it, instead of Nue using itself as a cushion. The image of Tsumiki upside down that is later from the manga is shown here in this episode instead. Megumi's monologue has a picture of the courtroom added. Scene of Tsumiki in the sunflower field is no longer shown. Ijiji now starts explaining himself to Gojo before Gojo points out that this was intentional. In the manga it was the other way around. Maki's hair is green in the anime and black in the manga. It should have stayed that way, also possibly her eye color is blue in the manga and not yellow. Yakuganji wears a white shirt when Panda mentions him. In the manga it's a black shirt. Jogo no longer taps the table when talking to Kenjaku. Image of Sukuna from the detention center is no longer shown before Yuji speaks to him. At the start of the chapter, Gojo starts talking about his dream. Instead, now we start from Sukuna and Yuji talking and then move on to Gojo's dream. When talking about binding woe, Sukuna being torn apart is shown. The waiter now gets scared before the prison realm gets mentioned. The scene of people burning down is now greatly extended, adding to the horror element. Yuji now, when disappointed about having no innate talent, starts naming attacks from different series, such as Rasengan from Naruto, Bankai from Bleach, and the Spirit Gun from Yu Yu Hakusho. Now when Megumi is mentioned, a small chibi version of him is seen. In the manga, Gojo is holding actual movies, such as Leon the Professional. In the anime, it's changed to Donald Trump. In one of the DVDs that Gojo Sensei had made a reference to the poster of the anime movie Yu-Gi-Oh! Bones of Beyond Time. Scenes of Nobara Lost is moved here. The parody of the movie Juggernaut is slightly changed so it's not as obvious. Gojo's infinity seems to be shown as a TV noise or distortion in some scenes here. Jogo now needs more goading to grab Gojo's hand. Jogo's blood not reaching Gojo is now more obvious in the anime. The sequence of Jogo being dragged through the forest is expanded with scenes of Gojo fighting Jogo hand to hand. In the anime, Yuji watches The Lord of the Rings, but in the manga he originally watches The Descent, specifically this deleted scene.
Hey, where's Sam? I don't know, she was here a minute ago. Sam? Sam! Sam? Sam! Sam? I'm busy!
When Yuji uses the video game analogy, a video game is shown. When Gojo calls out his domain, he's already in it in the manga. In the anime, he is still in Jogo's. There's no extra imagery shown from Jogo's viewpoint. Flower pattern added to Kenny's clothes in the anime. The place where Yaga and Ijiji are meeting can be clearly seen. Mai's hair is green and black in the manga. Students from previous exchange events can be seen. Instead of the note from Gege explaining why it's the last event for Todo, now Nobara asks the same question instead. Scenes of Todo added to the 100 Demon Attack flashback. Mai now can be seen loading and reloading her gun after beating Nobara. Miwa is now seen before Gojo enters the room. Miwa's inner emotions and expressions are shown. Gojo's monologue adapts some scenes of Ghetto from Volume 0, and Yuji's scene is changed to look like the Chapter 1 color page. The movie credits are now played while the three bullies lie dead. Yuji and Nanami enter the theater with umbrellas. Junpei meeting Mahito is moved here, same goes for Nanami and Yuji entering. Junpei being bullied is shown before the cinema scene. Scene of Junpei buying the ticket and Mahito entering the theater is added. Scenes from the movie are added and the poster can be seen all over. The scene of bullying and the movie scenes are combined. The supervisor-teacher guy can now also be seen, ignoring Junpei being bullied. The bullies now can actually be heard. Before Mahito kills the bullies, there is a scene shown similar to Mahito being burned. instead of just witnessing the aftermath, we can see Junpei seeing the students dead. Or die. We can see Junpei running after Mahito. Date and time of Junpei talking to Mahito is shown. People forcing Junpei to eat a bug are now clearly shown to be those bullies that died. Rain is added to the scene. Scenes of police and ambulance are shown outside the cinema. The two detectives now talk in the cinema security room instead of a table in the cafe. Instead, or starting out a hallway, the Nanami and Yuji scenes start at the seats where the kids died. The scene of Nanami saying that office jobs and jujutsu are idiotic are now shown similarly in order to be more comedic. And the same goes for the scene where he says he does not respect Gojo. The scene of Yuji promising Nanami to get his respect adds flashback to the detention center and to Gojo smirking. Possibly a Haikyuu reference. This figured human can now be seen climbing behind Yuji and Nanami before it's noticed. The framing of Nanami preparing to attack the disfigured human is different. Scenes of Yuji and Nanami dodging are added to Nanami's explanation about his technique. In the anime, Yuji gets hit by the disfigured human into the baseball game target. A talk with Shoko on the phone takes place in the movie Security Room 2. Nanami is also not wearing his jacket. Yuji is now visibly wet from the rain. It can now be seen what book Mahito is reading. It can also be seen when Mahito uses the Great Nine-Tailed Fox as an example and Hanako. Junpei, now in the middle of the scene, can hear the disfigured humans deep in the sewer. Junpei's scars are now shown. Mahito now comes down from the hammock to talk to Junpei face to face. The scene of Yuji, Nanami and Ijiji talking and the scene of Junpei being investigated by Yuji and Ijiji is moved here before the rest of the Junpei and Mahito scene. The scene adds the recording of Junpei too and the picture. Yuji and Ijiji leading the car and carrying the fly hats can be seen before they talk about it. A new scene of Junpei and his friends being bullied is added. The bully is the guy from the finale of the arc. Extra bit of dialogue is added to point out that the line Junpei is quoting is not by a Japanese person. This was also pointed out by Gege himself in the manga extras, but not in the chapter itself. The dialogue about this line is slightly longer overall. Junpei is now not seen visibly distraught about his feelings and thoughts. Before Yuji and Ijiji start following Junpei, he can be seen smiling and smirking. Yuji now asks about Nobara and Megumi. A scene of Nobara being thrown is shown. Iji's explanation is now shown in pixel art style. It is inconsistent in the manga, but I feel it's worth mentioning. Mahito's skin color palettes alternates from pale to white as a sheet. Instead of Junpei saying things to his teacher outright, it's monologues now. The bullies are now shown instead of being shadowy figures. In the manga, we first see Mahito with goat legs and Nanami injured, and in the first half of the fight. Now it's shown in the chronological order. It is now shown how Nanami and Mahito end up in the big sewer room. When explaining his technique, extra scenes of objects divided by the 7:3 ratio are added. Mahito now owns a Jujutsu High button. Scene of Junpei and Yuji talking about the movies is extended. It now has some visuals from the Human Earthworm movie. I think from this moment on I will stop mentioning flashbacks reusing animation, but it's worth to mention that some of the flashbacks in this section have a sepia tone over them. The story that Yuji tells at the table now has extra visuals of Yuji as a kid. When Yuji references the Castaway, there is now a drawing of the plate. It's shown how Junpei left his mother in the apartment. Ino has brown hair in the anime instead of black. Chapter 27 cover is shown when Junpei dies. A few extra hand-to-hand combats added to fighting Mahito. Mahito getting jumped being better and funnier in the anime. When Mahito expands his domain, Yuji can be clearly seen pushed out. Extra scenes of Nanami in the office. And Mahito is not shown sulking in a chibi form like in the manga. Extra scenes of Yuji's school are added. Extra visuals of Gojo's prank are added. Extra visuals added to Nobara being told that the event is in Kyoto are added. Mekamaru seems to be more made of wood in the anime, when in the manga it seems to be some kind of white material. Extra line from Miwa is added. Scene of Nobara and Megumi seeing Yuji alive cuts out Panda. Panda's description is now narrated by Yaga. Additionally, Yaga is shown a lot more during the description. When mentioning Nobara being in the line of fire, instead of chibi drawings, Nobara herself is shown. Mekamaru vs Gorilla Panda is extended. When Yuta is shown, there is a design of his Volume 0 self. Manga shows normal Yuta design, which makes no sense because Panda has not seen that design yet. When remembering his friends, there is a screen filter from Mechamaru's view. The scene of Kyoto High Sorcerers is shown here instead of Mechamaru vs Mahito fight. When telling Panda to shut up, Mechamaru no longer raises his middle finger. Maki now throws Miwa off a fucking cliff in the river, and that's where the fight goes on. Instead of Ijiji and the narrator explaining the rules together, it's just Ijiji now. Also, the scene has additional visuals. Momo now circles around Nobara while talking to her. Locations of the players are now shown. When explaining how to shield yourself from Inumaki, only Kamo's ears glow with cursed energy. In the manga, he was glowing entirely. Extra scene of Saori. Nobara explodes way more trees in the anime. Mai reloads in the anime and shoots another 6 times. Mai's technique is explained by Utahime. Instead of cutting to Mai defeated, Maki close quarters fight is shown. Kid Maki and Mai scene is way prettier in the anime. Megumi dodging Kamo's arrows is shown more. Miwa now sings about her sword being taken away.
Katana 取られちゃったよ.
All talismans burning is shown before Juzo notices Hanami and sets up a whale. There is now a scene of Kamo, Megumi, and Inumaki running away. The scene of Juzo starting to fight Gakuganji and Utahime starts here instead of later. More shots of running on the stairs. The anime makes it more obvious that Megumi was planning on summoning Mahoraga. Totality Demon Dog appears now after Megumi explains how he created it, instead of the other way around. The anime does not make it obvious that Todo's cursed energy is heart-shaped. Sad. New art of Mahito instead of reusing old art. Yuji no longer smiles during the second slap, possibly. Yuji and Todo vs Hanami round 1 is greatly expanded. Todo is shown beating up a high school kid, instead of us just seeing the aftermath. Garuda now appears after Yuki introduces herself. Todo and Yuji attack Hanami way more now. Takada no longer wears a black uniform. Round 2 is slightly expanded. Extra art of Juzo. Nobara and Mai are no longer chibi. Same goes for the lucky guy. Visuals of Tengen's barriers are shown. When the cursed family is talking about Yuji, not only Sukuna is shown, Yuji himself is shown too. The teachers are now not portrayed as chibis. Miwa asleep is shown. Miwa finding her sword broken is shown. Yuji no longer says there he is when Todo sees him. The baseball game is extended. Todo is shown playing before he pulls up to Yuji. Scene of ants is added. The ants are nearly crushed by Gojo but protected by his infinity. I think the anime cut out most of the sketchy chibism of the manga. The light starts blinking before the civilian is killed by the curse. The dead victim is shown. Nita stopping the car near the bridge is shown. In the manga, Yuji tries to steal Megumi's sandwich. In the anime, Yuji and Nobara find Nita saying "ding cute." Yuji being thrown off the bridge is shown. The girl no longer wears black, she wears yellow. Now when Nita lies, she pulls in Nobara. Megumi is not immediately shown to be shook by Tsumiki, being near the Yasuhachi bridge. Nita now gives the delinquent and his sister a ride. New visuals are shown of Tsumiki's case. Megumi talking to Nita is now framed as him calling her instead of a flashback. Visuals of Tsumiki are shown. Yuji vs Kechizu is extended. Or Eso, I don't know their names, I might have them mixed up. Same goes for Nobara and Megumi vs Yasuhachi Bridge Curse. Eso now wears pants in the anime. Eso licks his lips twice in the anime. The framing of Gojo teaching Megumi is changed. The nerd from Megumi's for the school now has sweary-eyed glasses. Visuals added to Megumi talking about good and bad people in his life. New shots of Megumi and Tsumiki added to Tsumiki's flashback. Eso's color scheme is different in the anime. Scene of Nita noticing the kids are gone is moved later. Kugisaki now falls down. New visuals to the rod technique. Kenjaku is now smiling in the anime. Instead of using Chosa's design with headband, the enemy uses his regular design. New videos to Nobara explaining resonance. The fact that Yuji is poison resistant is explained by Nobara instead of the narrator. Same goes for the iconic "if it's only pain, Yuji Itadori won't stop." The fight is slightly extended with great animation. Yuji and Nobara don't shout black flesh anymore. The fisherman is given a name, Sawamura. The other fisherman is no longer violently shaking his head when agreeing. When eating the finger, Yuji is now shown briefly morphing. Scene of the second year students is added. Extra scene of the group shopping is added. And that's all the differences of Season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I must say the differences kinda stop near the Kyoto, but for now I would like you to subscribe to my channel for more Jujutsu Kaisen content and maybe some other type of content you might enjoy. Comment down below, that helps a lot with the algorithm. Like the videos, do all that good stuff which I bet you're annoyed of hearing every time.